Hi, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Dalton Miller, president and founder of RetireFlo, and you are tuning in to our RetireFlo full ACA training. We are so proud to serve thousands of health insurance agents across the country, many of which are Medicare agents. That's kind of historically has been our bread and butter. But in the process of going out to industry conferences, meeting with FMOs, agencies, agents one-on-one, many of you we've probably met, the number one question we got is, all right, Dalton, I really like RetireFlo. It works awesome for my Medicare folks. Wouldn't it be cool if you did the same thing for ACA? Well, we're good listeners here at RetireFlo, and that's what this training is about, is to give you a full demo of our functionality for that Affordable Care Act line of business, that ACA, the under 65 group. It's a wonderful industry to be in, especially as Medicare agents, because oftentimes there's a spouse in the house, as my friend Galen Hendricks often mentions, somebody who's under 65 who might not be eligible for Medicare yet, or maybe a whole family of people who is eligible for ACA. So we wanted to do a full training on our brand new ACA survey. And while many of you are preparing for the Medicare annual enrollment period, for the open enrollment period, we wanted to give you the tools that you need to go out and understand what RetireFlo has to offer and how it can totally streamline your day-to-day life. But for those of you who don't know about who we are, RetireFlo is a set of online surveys that health insurance agents can use to send to their clients and prospects to gather everything you would need to run a quote for someone. And with that spirit, that was how we designed our ACA survey. So to kind of summarize what this ACA survey does, it's 11 questions long. The font is humongous. It's easy to operate. It asks one question at a time, and it takes your beneficiaries approximately 8 minutes to complete. That's it. So imagine a universe where you can distribute a survey to a client or prospect. It takes them 8 minutes, and then you've got everything you need to show up to your upcoming meeting prepared, locked, and loaded. And when your beneficiaries complete our ACA survey, you get 5 things, 5 major points. That beneficiary's drugs, doctors, hospitals, and pharmacies. On those prescriptions, they're spelled correctly every time. Dosage, quantity, frequency, package, brand of the generic, everything that you need to go out and run a quote. The second thing you get is all of that dependent information. So you're going to learn about all of those folks in the household who they claim as dependents, their respective drugs, doctors, hospitals, and pharmacies. You're also going to capture their smoking status, income level, year of enrollment, and then ultimately the final question, our 11th question in our ACA survey, is that consent form. That brand new consent form that the ACA, that CMS has rolled out for ACA. And so when, and there's a lot of systems out there that provide consent forms and things like that. But the reason we do it is so that way, if you want to get that consent form squared away in advance of your meeting, you're also going to capture all that good, healthy data that I just mentioned well in advance of your beneficiaries coming into your office or meeting telephonically. And what's double neat about that is you can go out and run your quotes, show up to your meetings, locked and loaded, quotes in hand. And so to most agents, receiving a RetireFlo submission means just more one-visit closes and more thoughtful, more prepared consultative meetings. And when your beneficiaries complete that survey, as always, you are immediately notified via email. You log on to RetireFlo, you've got a secure PDF summary of your client's answers. Now, a couple things I want everybody to be cognizant of how our ACA survey works. It works the same as our traditional Medicare survey, or our traditional RetireFlo surveys. What you get when you sign up for RetireFlo is a website. That's where your survey lives. So in my case, it's retireflo.com/Dalton. That's it. No big long URL, nothing you got to copy paste every time. Short, sweet, to the point. And what's cool about that is the ways that you can distribute the survey. You can text it to your clients. You can email it to them one at a time, email it to them in bulk, which I'm going to talk about here in a second. Post it on social media, link it on your website, turn it into a QR code that you flash up at the end of an educational event. Doesn't matter to us. And wherever your beneficiaries click on it or open it up, whether that's their phone, their tablet, their iPad, computer, their Kindle, it's got access to the internet. It's going to look incredibly professional on whatever device they open it up on. We work really hard on our mobile versions, so that way your beneficiaries feel comfortable sharing this data with you. Your site's got to look legit. And we've integrated Connecture's API tools into our survey. And that's a long way of saying that when your beneficiary answers the question, what prescriptions do you take? Which is one of our questions. They type in the letters LI, Lipitor pops up. Then we ask, do you really mean that you take the generic atorvastatin? If so, and what dosage, quantity, and frequency? So we're going to provide to you incredibly accurate snapshots of your clients' health regimens, oftentimes several days before you've ever met them. RetireFlo is proud to be HIPAA compliant. And also our services are incredibly sticky. And I say they're sticky because if your beneficiaries are going to take the time to answer your 11 questions, they're not going to call the agent down the street. They're going to work with you because they're going to know that you're thoughtfully considering their plan options for them. In fact, your headshot and logo is going to chase them throughout the survey, offering them helpful guidance throughout. And it doubles as a liability protection mechanism. And this happens often in the Medicare space. It happens in the ACA universe as well, where there's a lot of confusion about what factors are being taken into account when running quotes and ultimately enrolling people in plans. And I want to give a specific example here. Let's say you're meeting with a client and they tell you that they take atorvastatin and Advair. Those are their two prescriptions. You enroll them in a plan and everything's fine. 6 months later, you get a grievance filed against you from that client's insurance company that says you didn't do a good enough job explaining whether their Eliquis was covered. And you're like, my client never told me they took Eliquis. It happens. People are forgetful. Things get missed. With RetireFlo, you're going to have a time-stamped record of your client's answers to those questions. So if you ever have a grievance filed against you, you can send that document in and make that grievance unfounded. So a built-in kind of backup functionality built right into RetireFlo, which is pretty neat. And then, as always, our hallmark feature, something that we're so incredibly proud of, there's no username or password or code required of your beneficiaries to complete this survey. You simply send them the link, they complete it, answer the questions, they're done. That's it. And that gives you everything that you need to go out and run quotes for your beneficiaries. So with that, I'd like to do a live training of our ACA functionality. So I'm going to head over to retireflo.com/Dalton ACA. This is my survey. For those of you at home, if you'd like to try this out, feel free to head over to retireflo.com/Dalton ACA. That's it. But this is what our surveys look like. They're white labeled with your logo in the top left, your headshot, your hometown, state licenses, links to your social media if you want to. Many of you are probably familiar with our automatic Spanish translator for Medicare, which is usually lives right up here in this top right corner. We don't have that functionality yet for ACA, but we are working on it. There's a chance by the time that you tune into this, we'll have a ACA Spanish version as well. Again, built in at no additional cost. So I'm going to go through this survey like I'm Bob Buckeye, my ACA beneficiary. For those of you who know, I went to The Ohio State University, and please do not hold that against me. So, hey there, I'm Dalton Miller. Got some questions for you to provide you with plan options. Again, where you see my logo, my headshot, that's yours. We're going to ask for the beneficiary's name, Bob Buckeye. And our survey is very intuitive, and it's going to take Bob's name and kind of narrate this throughout. Hey, Bob, let's get started. We're going to ask for his email, bob@buckeyes.com. And then we're going to ask him when his coverage will end. Maybe his coverage has already ended. Maybe he's not sure, and it's the open enrollment period. But let's say in this instance, his coverage has already ended. So when he clicks that, it then automatically switches over to when did your coverage end? Let's say his coverage ended on July 1st of 2024. So he's been going a little while without some coverage. And we encourage him to do your best to estimate. Then we're going to ask him why his coverage is ending. And then he's got a drop-down menu of a bunch of available options. Maybe he lost his job. His hours were reduced. His COBRA benefits expired. His employer stopped offering group health insurance coverage. He got divorced or legally separated. He moved out of state. A bunch of different options here. But let's say in this case, unfortunately, our friend Bob lost his job and his hours were reduced. Then we're going to learn about Bob's household. Bob lives with he and his wife and their son, Billy Buckeye. It's Bob, his wife, Betty, and their son, Billy. And again, I'm so sorry for these examples. I just have to. I think it's too funny. So we're going to learn about his household. He's got his first name is Bob Buckeye. So we're going to ask about him first. We're going to remind him, hey, we want to know how many household members do you claim on your tax return, including himself. So we're going to start with him, Bob Buckeye. He was born on April 1st of 1975. And Bob regrettably has lost his job, so he's picked up smoking again. I'm just making stuff up here. So let's say he's a smoker. And Bob was doing really well, so his projected annual income for this year is $150,000. We also have this built-in tooltip here that helps Bob estimate his projected annual income. And then his relation in this case is himself. And Bob, yes, he lost his coverage. He does require new coverage. So Bob gets this nice little green tag that says, hey, he needs some coverage. Now let's learn about his wife, Betty Buckeye. Betty Buckeye was born on May 1st of 1976. And she does not use tobacco. She's frustrated with Bob over his tobacco use. I don't know. Again, I'm just making stuff up. And she's got a job where she makes $75,000 a year, and that's important. She does pretty well. She's kicking butt. She's got her own job with her own health coverage, which is going to be relevant here in a second. Relation is spouse, and then this member does not require coverage because remember, she's got a job. She's got coverage through her job. So she does not get that awesome green tag that says need coverage. And then let's learn about their child, Billy Buckeye. Billy Buckeye was born on August 1st of 2004. He just had a birthday. Just turned 20. He does not use tobacco. He better not. And his projected annual income is a big fat zero. He makes no money. He is a student and has been living with his parents. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but he's got a projected annual income of $0 on average. His relation is child to Bob. This member definitely needs some coverage. I'm not sure what's -1. He doesn't make -$1. I promise you that. Maybe he does, honestly, if he's living at home and he's charging things back to Bob Buckeye. So keep in mind, Betty doesn't need coverage. So there's some questions that we've got coming up that aren't particularly relevant to Betty. So we're not going to ask those of her. So we're going to get into these health questions and we're going to start with Bob, but we're not going to ask these health questions of Betty because she doesn't need any coverage. But we still need some of that demographic data if we're going to do a nice job providing her with plan options. So we're going to learn about Bob's prescriptions first. Like I mentioned before, maybe he takes Lipitor. He types in the first couple letters, it pops up right to the top. Then we ask, do you really mean that you take the generic atorvastatin? Let's say he does. Then he's got a drop-down menu of available dosages. And when he selects that he takes that 30 milligram tablet, we're going to suggest to him a common user quantity and frequency. In this case, that's 30 tablets a month. But maybe he takes 90 every 3 months. He can edit those fields. But let's say he takes Ozempic, which is another popular one, but doesn't come 30 pills a month, right? When he selects his dosage, it's going to auto-populate with the package. So you're going to know, oh, this is an injectable, this is an inhaler, something that comes in non-traditional means. But lastly, let's say Bob takes Synthroid, another popular one, but this time Bob forgets to tell you about his dosage. and he tries to indicate that his prescription list is complete. Uh-oh. Gets a little pop-up window that says, hey, we notice you're missing one. Got to add that dosage if we're going to do a nice job for you. So once he adds that dosage, he can now proceed through the survey. We're going to learn about his preferred pharmacies. He can add up to 3 pharmacies here, and he lives here in Columbus, Ohio, where I happen to live. He types in his zip, and he types in his pharmacy, CVS. Here it is right here at the top, his local pharmacy. But maybe he goes, that's his local pharmacy here in Columbus, but maybe he goes to a local pharmacy. Kroger is a great example of one here in Columbus. This is Connecture's API at work. So even your local pharmacies are going to populate here, which is very, very cool. His pharmacies are complete. Then we're going to learn about his preferred hospitals. He's here in Columbus, Ohio, so I bet he goes to the Ohio State University Health System. He just starts typing in the first couple letters of the hospital. It's going to pop up right here. But maybe Bob doesn't always live in Columbus. Maybe he winters in Arizona, and he goes to Western Arizona Regional Medical Center. Wherever Bob is in the country, every hospital that accepts Medicare in the United States is on this list, which is, I believe, somewhere around 97, 98% of hospitals. Don't hold me to that, but I'm pretty sure that's fairly accurate. His hospitals are complete. Then we're going to learn about his doctors and specialists. We're going to ask him for his primary care physician. We encourage him to put first and last name. So he sees Gregory House from the TV show, who works here at, I don't know, Trinity Health System. And he's a doctor there. And then we're going to ask him about his specialists. He sees Meredith Gray from Gray's Anatomy as his cardiologist. And she is at a different hospital system here in Ohio Health. And so you're going to have to capture that practice name as well. That doctor information is complete. So Bob is good. He's shared with us his health regimen. Then we're going to learn about Billy Buckeye. Billy Buckeye just turned 20. He doesn't have a primary care physician, and Bob doesn't really want the trouble of having to go out and search for these kind of things. He doesn't know that much about Bob's health or Billy's health regimen. He leaves some of that to Betty, but I don't know, again, making stuff up. But if Bob wants to skip this for Billy, he can either indicate on each one that this member does not have any current prescriptions, or he can skip all the way to the bottom and put no relevant health information. All right, Bob, almost done. We're going to ask him ideally when he would like his new coverage to start. We're going to remind him this is non-binding. It simply gives us an idea. So he's going to say that he'd like his new coverage to start today. Today is August 19th, 2024, because remember, he lost coverage back in July. We're going to ask him for his address. I'm going to type in an address close to me here in Columbus where Bob lives, and it's going to auto-populate with the zip and the county. So you don't have to type that information in. It's going to auto-populate on Bob's behalf. We're going to ask him for his phone number, 1-2-3-4-5-6-7-8-9-10. And then we're going to ask him, is there anything else you want your agent to know? This gives Bob the opportunity to share anything that's particularly relevant to him, things that he might deem important in this process of learning his plan options, gives them the chance to voice their thoughts. And so we know as agents that sometimes our beneficiaries want to share stuff with us that's not particularly relevant, about over-the-counters and stuff like that. But we're going to give Bob the chance to just share those things with you. So Bob's going to tell you, I am getting my knee replaced in the fall. I don't know. Maybe that's important to Bob that you know that. Then let's wrap this up. Your headshot warns him, hey, here comes the consent form. And what the heck is it? Here's our consent form. Super easy, clean, highlighted and glowing where Bob needs to initial or when he needs to sign. He puts his name in there. It's got all those important PHI clauses that give us the ability to work with Bob on this. And then it's got the important line about revoking consent via email, text, or written letter. And then Bob's going to sign here, puts his name in. It's going to auto pull in his phone number and email address from the survey. And then here's that signature automatically he signs and completes. And when he does, he gets this nice screen from you that says your name from your agency will contact you soon. Now, instantly, my phone just buzzed. I got a notification in my email that says, hey, you got a new submission on RetireFlo, log on to check it out. So I head over to my RetireFlo dashboard. I log into my profile. It says, welcome, Dalton. And I head over to my submission center. And what do you know? Here he is right at the top, Bob Buckeye. Let's see what we get on Bob. A perfect, secure summary of everything he just shared. Name, address, county, zip, phone number, when his coverage is ending, why his coverage is ending, when does he want his new coverage to start? Is there anything else that you want your agent to know? And then a summary of all of those dependents information. So here's Billy Buckeye, his relation, date of birth, tobacco use, projected annual income, and then whether or not this member needs coverage. Here's that information on Betty Buckeye. Remember, she didn't need coverage, so that portion is left blank, the health information. And then here's all the goods on Bob. Again, name, relation, date of birth, all those pharmacies, prescriptions, dosage, quantity, frequency, package, hospitals, doctors. And then at the end, the consent form. Taken care of with Bob's signature, his name, his phone number, his email address, and time-stamped with the IP address. Now, notice we leave this agent and agency section blank. We do that just because maybe Agent Dalton got sick that day and Bob met with a different agent, but you always have the capability of signing every submission here in the RetireFlo Submission Center. You just press sign and you fill in all that good, healthy information. That way, forever modifying the document and having a signed consent form on file, which we will store for you here in the Submission Center in perpetuity. So very, very cool. How much does this functionality cost? Great question. Our surveys at RetireFlo cost $49.99 a month. Unlimited sends, unlimited submissions. Doesn't matter how many Bob Buckeyes go through the survey. We do not charge based on that. We charge a flat rate just so that way you can have unlimited use of our survey, which I think is pretty cool. But there's a but coming. Because you tuned in all the way through this demo, you get promo code RF20. You get it 20% off, unlimited sends, unlimited submissions. So our surveys come to you at $39.99. Unlimited sends, unlimited submissions. If you happen to have an existing promo code through an FMO or through a partner or something like that, that promo code will apply here as well. But we want to give you one as a thank you for tuning in to our training. So if you'd like to add your a RetireFlo ACA survey, it's incredibly simple to do so. If you're new to RetireFlo, you go to retireflo.com and you press this big blue Get Started button right there in the center. I'm going to ask you a couple questions about yourself and your agency. You put in that promo code RF20, all caps, and then at the end, I'm going to prompt you to select a survey from our 3 available options. You'll select ACA if you'd like to add the ACA survey, and then you give us a couple things that we need to make your survey. You got to give us your headshot, your logo, your name, your agency name, state licenses, social media links. You choose your website link. So mine happens to be retireflo.com/DaltonACA. And then lastly, you put your email here so that way you're notified when you receive a new submission. You press save, you're done. That's it. Page is immediately live. If you're already an existing RetireFlo customer and you'd like to add the ACA survey, you can always do so in our survey marketplace right here. You select the survey and then you press continue. So with that, we're so proud to serve you here at RetireFlo. If you have additional questions, set up a demo with us. You know we're available. Many of you are probably in Medicare Island, our Facebook group, which we'd love to have you in. I'll even pull it up here for those of you who have tuned in. If you're a user of RetireFlo, you get access to our awesome Facebook group of all of our users. We already have 1,500 people in there, which is pretty cool. It's a great place to share and exchange best practices, learn from other agents about how they're weaponizing our surveys to grow and retain their business. But remember, on retireflo.com, you can always set up a demo with us, meet with us one-on-one. We expose our calendars so that way you have access to get the questions that you need answered and squared away. You know, many people ask, does this integrate with X, Y, and Z? Can I export the data? I will tell you before I go, you can export ACA data. You simply press export submission data in the submission center. You just have to select ACA. You can export those in a CSV or an Excel file. But with that being said, pick a time with us. We'd be more than happy to get you trained up, walk you through this one-on-one and answer your questions. But again, so proud to serve you. I know many of you already have our ACA survey, and it's being enjoyed by hundreds and hundreds of agents across the country. It's a great way to get prepared for a meeting. So with that, I appreciate the time. As always, it's a pleasure to serve you. Thank you so much.